Captain Jake Morrison stared at the view screen of his ship New Horizon, as massive alien vessels appeared around them like ghosts materializing from nothing. The exploration mission to Proxima Centauri had been going perfectly until this moment. His crew of 47 scientists and engineers had spent 6 months mapping the system and studying 3 potentially habitable planets. Now 12 enormous ships surrounded them, each one bigger than anything humanity had ever built. The communication system crackled to life with a voice that sounded like grinding metal mixed with static. Jake had studied alien contact protocols for years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The translator worked quickly to convert the alien words into something humans could understand. What came through made his blood turn cold. Human vessel, you are trespassing in council space. Your species has been observed and judged. You have 30 of your standard days to withdraw all presence beyond your homeworld's orbital boundary. Failure to comply will result in complete eradication of your species. This is not a negotiation. This is a final warning. Jake tried to respond, but the alien ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared, leaving New Horizon alone in the darkness of space. He immediately ordered his communications officer to send an emergency transmission to Earth. The message would take 4 years to reach home, but they had to try. Meanwhile, Jake made the decision to cut their mission short and return to Earth, immediately using their experimental faster-than-light drive. The journey home took 3 weeks, during which Jake and his crew analyzed every second of their encounter with the aliens. Dr. Rachel Green, the mission's lead scientist, worked tirelessly to understand the technology they had witnessed. The alien ships had appeared without any energy signature or warning. They had somehow bypassed every detection system humanity possessed. When New Horizon arrived at Earth, the message they carried sent shockwaves through every government and military organization on the planet. Admiral Lisa Campbell, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, immediately called for an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. President Claire Watson arrived at the meeting with her top advisors, including Dr. Ryan Torres, head of the Human Defense Initiative. The debate that followed would determine humanity's fate. Admiral Campbell argued that compliance was their only option. "We know nothing about these aliens except that their technology is far beyond ours," she said during the heated discussion. "They appeared and disappeared without warning. They could destroy us before we even knew they were coming." Dr. Torres disagreed strongly with this approach. "If we withdraw now, what happens next?" he asked the assembled leaders. "Do we stay trapped on Earth forever? Do we give up our dreams of exploring the stars? These aliens judged us without even talking to us. They decided our fate based on observation alone." President Watson listened to both sides before making her decision. She had been elected on a platform of human expansion and exploration. The colonies on Mars and the moons of Jupiter represented humanity's greatest achievements. The idea of abandoning all progress and hiding on Earth went against everything she believed. "We will not bow to alien demands," she announced to the world 3 days later. "Humanity has always faced impossible odds and found a way to survive and thrive. We will not give up our right to explore and grow among the stars because some ancient alien council thinks we are not worthy." The decision sparked massive preparations across Earth and its colonies. Dr. Torres immediately began working on defensive technologies, though he knew they were starting from far behind. The aliens had technology that seemed to break the laws of physics as humans understood them. Every scientist and engineer on Earth was recruited to help find solutions. Admiral Campbell, despite her disagreement with the decision, threw herself into preparing Earth's military forces. She knew that conventional warfare would be useless against enemies who could appear and disappear at will. She began developing new tactics based on mobility and unpredictability rather than brute force. Captain Morrison found himself promoted to commander and put in charge of a new deep space reconnaissance program. His mission was to find the aliens before they found Earth. Using modified exploration ships, he began sending small teams to monitor the edge of the solar system for any signs of alien activity. Meanwhile, the colonies began their own preparations. Governor Pete Johnson on Mars ordered the construction of underground facilities that could house the entire population. The lunar bases started manufacturing weapons and ships using every available resource. The mining stations in the asteroid belt were converted into forward observation posts. As the deadline approached, humanity worked with desperate energy. Dr. Torres made several breakthrough discoveries in energy manipulation and defensive technologies. Admiral Campbell trained millions of volunteers in guerrilla warfare techniques. President Watson coordinated with every world leader to ensure that humanity would face this threat united. The 30 days passed quickly. On the final day, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new command ship, watching for any sign of the alien fleet. Earth held its breath as the hours ticked by. When the deadline passed without any sign of the aliens, some people hoped that maybe the threat had been empty. Dr. Torres knew better. "They are coming," he told President Watson during their final strategy meeting. "The question is not if, but when and how. We must be ready for anything." The Alien Council had given humanity 30 days to withdraw. Instead, humanity had spent those 30 days preparing for war. They knew the odds were against them, but they also knew they would not go quietly into the darkness. Whatever happened next, the aliens would learn that humans do not surrender easily. As Jake Morrison looked out at the stars, he wondered what kind of species would demand the submission of an entire civilization without even attempting diplomacy. Whatever they were, they had made a crucial mistake. They had given humanity time to prepare, and humans had always been at their most dangerous, when they had nothing left to lose. The alien fleet arrived exactly 31 days after their ultimatum expired. Commander Alex Rivera was patrolling the outer edge of the solar system when his sensors detected massive energy signatures approaching from deep space. 12 ships, each one the size of Manhattan, dropped out of faster-than-light travel and formed a perfect line facing the inner solar system. Alex immediately sent out the warning signal to Earth and all human colonies. Within minutes, every human military vessel in the system was racing toward predetermined positions. Admiral Campbell had spent the month preparing for this moment, but seeing the alien ships in person made her realize how outmatched they truly were. The lead alien ship opened communications with Earth directly. The same grinding metallic voice that Jake Morrison had heard at Proxima Centauri now spoke to all of humanity. "Your deadline has passed. Your species chose defiance over wisdom. We will now demonstrate the consequences of your decision." Without another word, the alien fleet moved toward Titan, Saturn's largest moon, where humanity had established a major research station. The human defenders tried to intercept them, but the alien ships moved through space with impossible grace and speed. Commander Rivera led 6 patrol ships in a desperate attack, but their weapons barely scratched the alien shields. The destruction of Titan Station was swift and absolute. The aliens used some kind of energy beam that simply erased the entire facility from existence. 3,000 human scientists and workers died in an instant, vaporized without even knowing what hit them. The aliens then turned toward Earth and transmitted another message. This was merely a demonstration. Surrender now, and we will allow your species to survive on your homeworld under Council supervision. Continue to resist, and we will erase every trace of humanity from the galaxy. President Watson's response was broadcast across all human settlements. "We mourn our dead, but we will not surrender. If you want to destroy us, you will have to fight for it." What followed was 6 months of the most desperate warfare in human history. The aliens, led by Council Admiral Zektar of something called the Hegemony, expected quick victory after their show of force. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy unlike anything they had ever encountered. Commander Rivera pioneered the hit-and-run tactics that became humanity's signature strategy. His small ships would dart in from behind asteroids, fire everything they had, and disappear before the aliens could respond. The human ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything the aliens had faced before. The breakthrough came during the Battle of Europa. Lieutenant Kate Sullivan was piloting a modified mining vessel called Lucky Strike when her squadron was surrounded by alien cruisers. Instead of trying to escape, she made a decision that would change the course of the war. Kate pushed her ship's engines to maximum and aimed directly at the largest alien vessel. Her plan was simple: ram the enemy ship and hope to cause enough damage to help her squadron mates escape. As Lucky Strike accelerated toward the alien cruiser, something unexpected happened. The alien shields, which had seemed impenetrable, began to flicker and fail as Kate's ship approached. Her mining lasers, designed for cutting through asteroid, rock, suddenly started penetrating the alien defenses. Kate realized she had discovered something important, but she only had seconds to act. All ships, focus electromagnetic pulses on frequency 774, she broadcast to the human fleet. Their shields are vulnerable to mining laser frequencies. Kate's ship struck the alien cruiser, and both vessels exploded in a brilliant flash of light, but her sacrifice was not in vain. The other human ships immediately adjusted their weapons to the frequencies she had discovered, and suddenly they could hurt the aliens. Dr. Torres received Kate's final transmission on Earth and immediately began working with his team to weaponize the discovery. They found that the aliens' shield technology was designed to stop conventional energy weapons, but had a critical weakness to specific electromagnetic frequencies that humans used for industrial purposes. Within weeks, Dr. Torres had developed new weapons that could penetrate alien defenses. The war began to turn as human ships started winning individual battles against alien vessels. The aliens found themselves facing an enemy that learned from every encounter and adapted faster than they thought possible. Admiral Campbell coordinated the human response from a secret command center built inside an asteroid. She used Earth's asteroid belt like a three-dimensional maze, hiding human ships among the rocks and launching surprise attacks when the aliens least expected them. The Battle of Jupiter's Moons became the turning point of the space war. Commander Rivera, now promoted to captain, led a massive human fleet in a coordinated assault on the alien forces gathered near the gas giant. Using the new electromagnetic weapons and superior knowledge of the local terrain, the humans managed to destroy 4 alien ships while losing only 6 of their own. Admiral Zektar, commanding the alien fleet from his massive flagship, was shocked by human tenacity and adaptability. His reports back to the council spoke of an enemy that fought with impossible determination and seemed to improve with every battle. The space war raged across the entire solar system. Human ships darted between the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, using gravity assists and asteroid cover to outmaneuver the larger alien vessels. The aliens had superior technology, but the humans had something the aliens did not understand: the absolute refusal to give up. As the months passed, the aliens found themselves losing ships they could not easily replace. Their technology was advanced, but their tactics were rigid and predictable. They had conquered dozens of species over the millennia, but none had fought back with such creativity and determination. The space war ended when Admiral Zektar made a crucial mistake. Frustrated by months of guerrilla warfare, he ordered a direct assault on Earth itself. He brought his entire remaining fleet, 8 massive ships, into Earth's orbit and began the bombardment that would lead to the planet's occupation. But as his ships rained destruction on human cities below, Captain Rivera and the surviving human fleet struck from behind. Using every trick they had learned during the space war, the humans destroyed 2 more alien ships before being forced to retreat. Admiral Zektar had won control of Earth, but at a cost far higher than he had ever imagined possible. The aliens looked down at the burning planet below and believed they had finally broken human resistance. They were wrong. The real war was just beginning. Colonel Dan Roberts crawled through the maintenance tunnel beneath New York City as alien patrol ships flew overhead. The bombardment had ended 3 weeks ago, and the aliens now controlled every major city on Earth. They had expected the surviving humans to surrender after seeing their civilization reduced to rubble. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to grow stronger the more desperate their situation became. Dan had been preparing for this moment since the 30-day ultimatum expired. Working with President Watson's secret orders, he had helped coordinate the construction of hidden bunkers and underground cities across the globe. When the alien bombardment began, millions of humans had disappeared into these hidden sanctuaries, taking with them everything they needed to wage a long war. The resistance network Dan commanded operated from dozens of interconnected bunkers spread across 6 continents. Each bunker was connected to the others through a network of tunnels, underground railways, and hidden communication systems that the aliens had not yet discovered. The humans had learned from every resistance movement in their history and applied those lessons on a global scale. Engineer Maya Patel had become one of the Resistance's most valuable assets. Working from a hidden laboratory beneath the ruins of Chicago, she developed weapons that turned everyday human technology into deadly surprises for the alien occupiers. Her specialty was improvised explosives that used common household chemicals and electronic devices. Maya's greatest creation was a device she called the feedback bomb. By studying alien technology recovered from crashed ships, she discovered that their communication systems could be overloaded with the right kind of electromagnetic pulse. Her bombs looked like ordinary human electronics, but would explode when aliens tried to scan them, destroying entire alien patrol units. The psychological warfare campaign was led by Ben Rodriguez, a former high school teacher who had become a master of propaganda and morale. From hidden broadcast stations scattered across the planet, Ben transmitted resistance messages that reached not only human survivors, but also alien troops stationed on Earth. Ben's broadcasts included recordings of alien soldiers expressing doubts about their mission. Many of the younger aliens had never been involved in genocide before, and the brutal occupation of Earth was causing stress and moral conflicts within their ranks. Ben exploited these weaknesses by broadcasting testimonies from alien defectors and evidence of war crimes committed by the Council. The turning point in the psychological war came when Ben obtained recordings of high-ranking alien officers discussing their plans to exterminate all remaining humans after the occupation was complete. When these recordings were broadcast across the planet, they reached not only human resistance fighters, but also alien troops who had been told they were participating in a peacekeeping mission. Captain Amy Foster led the most dangerous missions of the Resistance. Her team specialized in rescuing human prisoners and stealing alien technology. Amy had lost her entire family during the bombardment, but instead of seeking revenge, she focused on saving as many people as possible. Amy's most important mission took place at the Alien Detention Center in what used to be Los Angeles. The aliens were holding over 10,000 human civilians, including many scientists and engineers they planned to interrogate for information about human technology and military capabilities. The rescue mission seemed impossible. The detention center was guarded by hundreds of alien soldiers and protected by energy shields that no human weapon could penetrate. But Amy had discovered something interesting during her reconnaissance missions. The aliens treated their prisoners according to strict rules that seemed designed to prevent war crimes. Amy realized that the aliens were not evil monsters but soldiers following orders in a war they might not fully understand. She decided to try something that had never been attempted in the history of human-alien contact. She walked up to the detention center gate and asked to speak with the commanding officer. The alien commander, whose name translated roughly to Kethran, agreed to meet with Amy under a flag of truce. Amy had learned enough of the alien language to communicate directly without translators. What she said to Kethran shocked both the alien officer and the human resistance fighters listening to the conversation. "We know you are not evil," Amy told the alien commander. "We know you are soldiers following orders, but we also know that your leaders plan to kill all humans after the occupation ends. That means you are not occupying our planet. You are participating in genocide." Kethran denied Amy's accusation at first, but Amy played him recordings of his own superiors discussing the final solution to the human problem. The alien commander listened to his leaders casually planning the murder of every human on Earth, including the prisoners he was guarding according to strict humanitarian protocols. The result was the first large-scale alien defection of the war. Kethran and most of his troops abandoned their posts and helped Amy evacuate the detention center. Over 8,000 human prisoners were freed in a single night, and more importantly, humanity gained its first alien allies. The mass defection sent shockwaves through the alien occupation forces. Many alien soldiers had joined their military to protect innocent species from aggressive neighbors, not to commit genocide against civilians. When faced with evidence of their leaders' true intentions, thousands of aliens chose to switch sides. The resistance grew stronger with each passing month. Dan Roberts' network expanded to include alien defectors who provided crucial intelligence about Council military capabilities and weaknesses. Maya Patel reverse-engineered alien technology to create weapons that could destroy alien vehicles and equipment. Ben Rodriguez continued his propaganda campaign, now with testimonies from alien soldiers who had witnessed the truth about the occupation. President Watson, operating from a hidden bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, coordinated the global resistance effort while secretly planning for the future. She knew that Earth's resistance was only buying time for something much more important. Captain Morrison and the surviving human fleet were still operating in deep space, and refugees were being evacuated to hidden colonies in distant star systems. The aliens controlled Earth's surface, but they were learning that conquering a planet was very different from controlling its people. Every day brought new attacks, new defections, and new evidence that their easy victory was turning into a costly occupation that was tearing their own forces apart. Admiral Zektar received increasingly desperate reports from his ground commanders. The humans were not behaving like any conquered species in Council history. Instead of accepting defeat, they seemed to be growing more organized and more dangerous. Worse still, their resistance was inspiring defections among his own troops. The Council had expected to break human spirit within months of occupation. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that grew stronger through suffering and turned every defeat into a lesson for future victories. The aliens had conquered Earth, but they were beginning to realize that they might have won a battle only to lose a war. Dr. Laura Green stood in the laboratory on Kepler 452b, staring at equations that would have been impossible just 3 years ago. The hidden human colony on this distant world had grown from 50 refugees to over 10,000 people, all working together on the most ambitious scientific project in human history. They were going to break the laws of physics as the galaxy understood them. The colony on Kepler 452b was one of dozens that Captain Morrison had established during the 3 years since Earth fell, using stolen alien transport ships and secret evacuation routes. Humans had spread across distant star systems, building hidden settlements that the Council could not detect or reach. Each colony specialized in different aspects of the war effort. Dr. Torres had arrived at Kepler 452b 6 months ago with data recovered from hundreds of alien ships and equipment. Working together, he and Dr. Green had made breakthrough discoveries that changed everything humanity thought they knew about space, time, and energy. The key was understanding how quantum tunneling could be manipulated on a massive scale. The aliens had technology that seemed impossible, but Dr. Green realized it was based on principles that humans could understand and improve upon. Alien ships could appear and disappear because they used quantum tunneling to move through higher dimensions. Their shields worked by shifting energy attacks into parallel quantum states where they could not cause damage. But Dr. Green discovered something the aliens had missed. Quantum tunneling could be reversed and weaponized. Instead of moving objects through higher dimensions, humans could trap alien technology in quantum loops that would cause it to destroy itself. The mathematics were incredibly complex, but the practical applications were devastatingly simple. While Dr. Green worked on quantum physics, Sam Walker was conducting secret negotiations on 3 different worlds. Sam had been Earth's top diplomat before the war, and now he was humanity's secret ambassador to alien species that were growing disgusted with Council policies. The Cathara were the first alien species to make formal contact with human refugees. Their homeworld had been conquered by the Council 200 years ago, and they had been forced to provide troops for Council expansion ever since. When Cathara soldiers serving on Earth witnessed human civilians protecting alien prisoners from revenge attacks, many began to question everything they had been taught about the war. Sam's breakthrough came when he met with Cathara ambassador Vailtar on a neutral space station in an unclaimed star system. Vailtar brought shocking news. The Council was not the unified government it claimed to be. 3 of the 12 member species were actively working to overthrow the current leadership and end the policy of aggressive expansion. The Cathara, along with the Miran and the Zephyrians, had formed a secret alliance against the Council's dominant faction. They had been looking for an opportunity to break free from Council control, and humanity's unexpected resistance had given them the inspiration they needed. Sam Walker found himself negotiating not just for human survival, but for a galactic revolution. Captain Morrison emerged from his hidden base in the Vale Nebula with news that changed the course of the entire war. His fleet of refugee ships had been joined by alien defectors and rebels from across the galaxy. Working together, humans and aliens had created hybrid vessels that combined the best aspects of both technologies. Morrison's flagship, the Liberty, was a marvel of cooperative engineering. The ship's hull was built using human metallurgy techniques that created armor stronger than anything the Council had seen before. The engines used modified alien technology that could tunnel through quantum space faster and more efficiently than Council ships. The weapons systems combined human creativity with alien power sources to create devastating new forms of warfare. The hybrid fleet tested their capabilities during the Battle of Wolf 359. A Council patrol force of 8 ships had discovered one of the human colonies and moved to destroy it. Morrison's fleet of 12 hybrid vessels met them in open space and demonstrated technologies that even experienced Council officers found impossible to understand. The human ships could phase in and out of normal space-time at will, making them nearly impossible to target. Their weapons bypassed Council shields by attacking from multiple quantum dimensions simultaneously. Most shocking of all, the human crews seemed to coordinate their attacks with a level of precision and creativity that no alien tactical computer could predict or counter. The Battle of Wolf 359 lasted only 47 minutes. When it ended, the entire Council patrol force had been destroyed while the human fleet suffered only minor damage. Morrison transmitted a recording of the battle to every human colony and resistance cell in the galaxy. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer just surviving. They were winning. Dr. Green's quantum weapons were tested for the first time during a raid on a Council supply depot near the Centauri system. The weapons worked exactly as predicted, trapping alien ships in quantum loops that caused their own energy systems to tear them apart from the inside. The raid was a complete success, with the humans capturing enough supplies to equip 3 more colonies. The psychological impact of the quantum weapons was even more important than their practical value. Council forces began reporting that human ships could destroy their vessels using unknown physics that violated fundamental laws of science. Panic spread through the alien military as officers realized they were fighting an enemy that had surpassed their own technological capabilities. Sam Walker's diplomatic efforts bore fruit when the Cathera formally declared their independence from the Council and signed a military alliance with humanity. The Moran and Zephyrians followed within days, and suddenly the Council found itself facing a civil war at the same time it was fighting humans. The 3 rebel species brought crucial intelligence about Council military capabilities and strategic plans. They revealed that the Council's Supreme Fleet, commanded by High Admiral Vorthak himself, was being assembled for a final assault on Earth. The Council planned to end the human problem once and for all by destroying the planet and everyone on it. Morrison received this intelligence while his fleet was conducting raids near the Outer Rim territories. He immediately began planning for the defense of Earth, knowing that this would be humanity's last chance to prove they deserved their place among the stars. The upcoming battle would decide not just human survival, but the future of freedom in the galaxy. Dr. Torres and Dr. Green worked together to prepare their most advanced quantum weapons for the final confrontation. They knew that the Council would bring everything they had to this battle, and humanity would need every advantage they could create. As news of the approaching Supreme Fleet spread through the human colonies and the resistance on Earth, people began to realize that everything they had fought for would be decided in one massive battle above their home world. 3 years of desperate struggle had led to this moment, and humanity would either emerge as a galactic power or be destroyed forever. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty as his fleet emerged from quantum space above Earth. The planet below showed the scars of 3 years of occupation, but it was still home to billions of humans who had never stopped fighting for their freedom. Today that fight would finally end one way or another. The Council's Supreme Fleet was already in position around Earth, 200 massive ships arranged in perfect formation. High Admiral Vorthak commanded from his flagship Dominion, a vessel so large it cast shadows on the planet below. This was the Council's ultimate weapon, the fleet that had conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved entire civilizations. Morrison's fleet looked pitiful in comparison. Only 60 ships, many of them converted civilian vessels and captured alien transports. But Morrison knew something that Vorthak did not understand. These were not ordinary ships crewed by ordinary people. Every vessel in the human fleet represented 3 years of desperate innovation, impossible courage, and the absolute refusal to accept defeat. The communication channel crackled to life as Morrison broadcast his message to the Council fleet. His words were heard not only by alien commanders but by resistance fighters on Earth, human colonies across the galaxy, and billions of beings who had lived under Council rule for centuries. Hi, Admiral Vorthak, I am Admiral Morrison of the Human Liberation Fleet. 3 years ago, your Council gave us an ultimatum. You told us to withdraw from the stars or face extinction. You believed we were a chaotic species unworthy of freedom. You were wrong about everything. Morrison paused as his ships began moving into formation around the Council fleet. The alien vessels turned to track the human ships, but something strange was happening. The human vessels seemed to flicker in and out of existence, phasing between normal space and quantum dimensions in patterns that made targeting impossible. You had your chance to coexist with us, Morrison continued. We offered peace, trade, and friendship. You chose genocide instead. That was your mistake. You gave us time to prepare, time to learn, and time to find allies among the species you have oppressed for centuries. Today, your empire ends. High Admiral Vorthak responded with contempt. Human, you command a handful of primitive vessels against the mightiest fleet in galactic history. Your bravery is admirable, but your defeat is inevitable. Surrender now and we will grant your species a quick death. Morrison's response was to give the order that began the final battle. All ships, execute Operation Liberation. Show them what happens when you push humanity too far. The human fleet attacked with tactics that no Council officer had ever seen before. Ships phased in and out of quantum space, appearing behind Council vessels and firing quantum weapons that bypassed all known defenses. The weapons Dr. Green had developed worked by trapping enemy ships in recursive quantum loops, causing their own energy systems to destroy them from within. But the most shocking development was not the human technology. As the battle began, half of the Council fleet suddenly changed sides. Cathara, Miran, and Zephyrian crews turned their weapons on their former allies, striking without warning at ships that had trusted them completely. Admiral Zektar, commanding the occupation forces from Earth's surface, watched in horror as his former allies joined the human assault. The carefully planned formation of the Supreme Fleet collapsed into chaos as ships that should have been defending each other began firing on one another. The tide of battle turned when Morrison ordered his ships to target the Dominion directly. High Admiral Vorthak had expected his flagship to be untouchable, protected by the most advanced shields and armor in the galaxy. Instead, he found his ship under attack by weapons that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. Dr. Torres and Dr. Green had saved their most devastating creation for this moment. The quantum cascade weapon did not simply destroy enemy ships. It trapped them in a loop where they experienced their own destruction over and over again in different quantum states, creating a feedback effect that tore through space-time itself. The Dominion's shields collapsed under the quantum assault, and Morrison ordered boarding parties to capture the ship rather than destroy it. Captain Amy Foster led the assault, supported by alien rebels who knew the layout of Council vessels. The battle for the flagship became a symbol of the larger war, with humans and aliens fighting side by side against tyranny. High Admiral Vorthak was captured alive after a fierce battle in the Dominion's command center. As he was brought before, Morrison, the alien commander, saw something in the human admiral's eyes that he had never expected. Not hatred or revenge, but determination and justice. High Admiral, Morrison said, you are going to witness the end of your empire and the birth of something better. Your council ruled through fear and oppression for thousands of years. Today that ends forever. The battle raged for 6 hours across the entire solar system. Council ships that tried to retreat found themselves pursued by human vessels that could appear anywhere in space without warning. The hybrid technology created by human and alien cooperation proved superior to anything the Council had developed through conquest and intimidation. When the fighting finally ended, the Supreme Fleet had been completely destroyed or captured. Of the 200 ships that had come to destroy humanity, only 12 escaped to carry news of the defeat back to Council space. The rest had been destroyed, captured, or had joined the rebellion against their former masters. Morrison stood in the Dominion's command center as he broadcast his final message to the galaxy. Leaders of every species under Council rule heard his words, as did billions of beings who had never dared to hope for freedom. People of the galaxy, the Council, is finished. Their supreme fleet has been destroyed and their leaders are our prisoners, but we are not conquerors seeking to replace one empire with another. We fight for the right of every species to govern itself and determine its own destiny. Morrison looked directly at High Admiral Vorthak as he delivered his ultimatum. Any attempt to recreate the Council's empire will be met with immediate and total response. We are not interested in ruling you, but we will never again allow anyone to rule us. The age of galactic tyranny is over. The surrender was broadcast across known space. Species that had been enslaved for centuries declared their independence within hours. The Council's remaining forces found themselves facing rebellions on dozens of worlds as their former subjects realized that the seemingly invincible empire had been defeated by a species they had tried to destroy. Dr. Torres arrived on Earth a week after the battle to help coordinate the massive relief effort. The planet's cities were rebuilding with help from alien allies who brought technologies for healing both the land and the people who had suffered under occupation. President Watson, emerging from her hidden bunker for the first time in 3 years, addressed the human survivors and their new allies. We did not seek this war, but we finished it. We will help any species that wants to live free, and we will oppose any group that tries to build a new empire on the ashes of the old one. 5 years later, Admiral Morrison stood before the Assembly of Free Worlds, a voluntary alliance of species that had chosen cooperation over conquest. Earth had become the reluctant capital of this new organization, not because humans demanded it, but because other species trusted them to defend freedom without seeking to control it. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their tactics, but their absolute refusal to accept that anyone should live under oppression. The Council had defied humanity once, believing them to be weak and chaotic. They never got a second chance to learn how wrong they were. In the end, humanity's victory had come not from superior weapons or military genius, but from a simple principle that they refused to abandon. Every being in the galaxy had the right to be free, and anyone who tried to take that freedom would face the combined might of species that had learned to value liberty above all else. The Council was gone forever, but the lesson of their defeat would echo through the stars for generations. Freedom, once awakened, could never again be easily suppressed.